He says that the brain is like a supercomputer geared towards finding the thing you tell it to look for. You can't make a movie or show or anything with just yourself. No. You can't. It's impossible. Because I've realized that some of the most trying times I've faced and some of what I thought were like the worst moments of my life actually afforded me the greatest gift that I got, which is perspective.
Welcome to the Espresso with Omar podcast. I'm your host, Omar, and today the goal remains the same: to provide you a shot of encouragement, a shot of motivation for your day, for your week, for your life. Today, it's my honor to have a guest here today. We'll talk about some of the work he's doing. He's a fellow martial arts and jiu-jitsu competitor and practitioner, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So without further ado, Freddy, thank you for being out here, brother.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
So Freddy, I saw you in class the other day. I was super excited. I was like, "What, Freddy?" I thought you were gone. I was like,
I took some time away.
Yeah. What were you doing?
Well, I was shooting something. I'm an actor, for those who might not know me. So I was taking some time off, because it is a bit of a risk whenever you're training, especially in a sport like this.
Yeah. You're in incredible shape.
Thank you, man. I try to follow the philosophy: stay ready, so you don't got to get ready.
Yes. What does that look like for you?
I mean, constant activity, whether it be weightlifting, walking, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, whatever it may be, that makes me feel motivated, that makes me feel like I have something to build towards. It's a lot easier when, it's a lifestyle and not so much a goal-oriented endeavor. Because I feel like once you accomplish that goal, then you have to redefine what the next step is, and then it's like climbing Mount Everest again. Whereas like if you can just adopt it as a lifestyle, something that you enjoy, that you find fulfillment just on a day-to-day, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I try not to tell my clients early on. So I work with people who are like sometimes 350 pounds, 400 pounds, right? And sometimes them just viewing themselves at like 250 is like the goal, right? And I try my best not to hit them with the bad news of you're gonna get to 250, you're gonna get to 220, and you're gonna think, am I done? Like, no, you're not done. This becomes lifestyle. This becomes the thing that is just a part of you now, not necessarily because you want to look good or because you want to, be attractive. Those things will come. Sure. Those things are going to happen, but it has to be a deeper goal, a deeper why, a deeper reason. Yeah. Like, why are we doing this?
I mean, it's like, okay, 250, what does 250 offer you that you don't have right now, right? Is it the ability to maybe like go play sports with your kids, or like when you ask just like the why, suddenly, it becomes a little bit more rooted in purpose, longer term purpose than just like the number.
How'd you get started? Like, was it weightlifting that got you in first? Was it running?
Started in what?
Fitness.
In fitness? I mean, as a kid, man, like I think there was a couple of things, but one was my father was never healthy. He ate what he wanted to eat. He was never physically active and tried to find excuses for why not to be. And eventually his health started deteriorating really quickly. Fortunately, he's still around, but I mean, the man has endured the worst things imaginable. I mean, he's had cancer, kidney failure, heart failure, diabetes, a stroke.
My God.
I joke with him. I'm like, if there was a nuclear attack, the only things to survive are you and the cockroaches. Like, truly, like he is, man. He's a warrior in that regard. But seeing as a kid, like I used to be frustrated because it'd be constant trips to the hospital. And I was always trying to get him to, do something about it physically. And you'd do certain things, like you'd have health scares and then you'd buy a treadmill and start walking.
Yes.
And then once you got better, then you'd stop. Kind of going back to those goal-oriented things, right?
Yep.
And so I think like, I knew for a fact I never wanted to deal with the things that he's dealt with.
Yes.
And I pray that that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, I try to be very conscious of that. But, you know, that was a big inspiration, was just like seeing the consequences of not being active.
My dad, also very similar situation. I think he would deny it, but definitely alcoholic, definitely. And he would have these bouts. And then he would get into like great shape. And he has this thing in his genes where if he would start working out for 3, 4, 5 months,
It's like a flip, right?
dude, he looked better than me.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then go right back to it. And his thing was, well, I work in construction. That's my workout. It's like your body gets used to the movement. There's actually something called NEAT, non-exercise activity. You know about this, okay? So I tell this to my clients because this is why I push strength training over most of the things. You know, everything's good.
Yeah.
Find your thing. If it's running, if it's hiking, if it's swimming, if it's like, find your thing. But have some kind of resistance training. So I tell people, because with cardio, your body, and this is where NEAT comes into play, it does this thing where if you just start doing cardio, there is a level of activity that we have at rest, whether it's, you know, my leg moving, I get up and go to the bathroom often, or at work or whatever, that's called non-exercise activity, right? It's non-exercise, but it's activity that our body uses calories to get the things done.
Right.
So if you increase cardio or a lot of physical activity that's cardiovascular, your body tends to balance that out by reducing unconsciously your NEAT activity.
Right.
Interesting. So you could have a really intense job, but now you come home and you're on the couch for 6 hours straight.
Yeah.
Because your body's like, we need to preserve this energy for this. So you have to do something on top of that for it to count. Let's just say that. So talking about physical activity, you're in great shape, like I said. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Thank you, man.
I know you're acting and you have a show coming up, so I want to ask you about that. But how demanding is it to be in top shape for acting and for the roles that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends, right? It depends on what you want to do. You know, when I first started, I studied theater since I was a little kid, but I went to college for acting, and when I was in college, I started kind of clarifying really what direction I wanted to go to, and I wanted to do more film and television. I'd done theater for so long, and film and TV felt new. I just had more curiosity because I'd spent so much time in the theater. Now it's a little different. Now I kind of miss the theater, but at the time, you know, this is when Marvel movies were, you know, at their peak.
Yes.
You know, being Latino, I'd never seen representation, you know, in that regard. We usually are depicted as criminals, murderers, and rapists. That sort of, exactly, that narrative that it has even circulated in politics is depicted on screen. And I made a very conscious decision early on to not use my likeness in that regard. So I've had to say no to certain opportunities. I've you know, avoided auditioning for certain roles specifically for those reasons. That being said, I wanted to play like some sort of hero. When I was graduating, I just thought like, okay, physically I need to look the part. So I really, you know, committed early on to just staying in shape. Fortunately, I like sports. You know, I really do enjoy practicing, you know, whether it be basketball, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing. You know, I really do enjoy playing sports, and the practice of it. It just keeps my head out of the activity. And more in the actual practice of the sport itself.
Yes. It's a cheat code.
It's a cheat code, for sure. You know, and I always try to encourage people to like find the sport or the activity that they enjoy doing, because it makes, you know, the physical part so much easier. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I started physically, was just this idea of playing a certain role, or with the aspirations of hopefully one day playing a certain role.
It seems like it was even deeper than that. It was like playing this role, but also putting my face and this representation 100%. Of it at the front versus these other roles.
100%.
And you know, it took me a minute. So you've known me now for quite some time. I've been training here for 3 years. I know we've met a few times here and there. I try my best to kind of just mind my own business. I don't really get into people's lives, but I knew I recognized you from somewhere, and I didn't know from where. And as I was prepping for this, I'm like, when they see us.
Yeah.
I remember when that came out. I was in college, so I have a master's in social work. So I'm an MSW, and it was at the peak of the political. How can we call this? The political turn from a very left-leaning leadership to a very right-leaning leadership. And this was right in the middle. There was like two things that I remember very intensely that were super relevant to the culture. Black Panther, the movie.
Yeah.
Holy heck. That's when Kendrick became the GOAT for me. I was like, the fact that he, from my understanding, he got the script and wrote an album to follow the script to represent the culture at the time. Like that's just
he's
other level.
He's an artist.
But then this Netflix series, holy heck! This is the only way I can put it. What a footprint on the culture that you've already left with that. How was that experience?
I mean, that was one of the greatest blessings and privileges that I've had so far in my career, honestly. Like, I had just graduated a year prior, and I had auditioned for countless things, and nothing seemed to click. And then when I got the audition for this, they had attached a documentary to it. I was not familiar with the case. So I watched the documentary, I found out about it, and it was like a switch had flipped, man. Like, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yes.
I'm gonna do whatever I can to make this happen. And there's kind of a little side story to this whole thing. I was living in New York, and I was catering to make ends meet.
Of course.
And it was such a soul-sucking job. And I told myself at that time, I was like, okay, whatever the next catering gig is, it's gonna be my last. I'm just gonna take whatever money I have and just commit to just acting, and hopefully I get something. If not, then I'll figure out what's next. So I didn't know what the Met Gala was at the time. The Met Gala is this big fashion show in New York that happens in May, where all the big celebrities, especially of that year, come all dressed to the nines, and they show up at the Met, in the Metropolitan Museum in New York. And so that was the gig that I had, and my job was to open the doors that day for all the guests. And I'm opening up the doors to George Clooney, Kim Kardashian. At the time, the Black Panther himself, Chadwick Boseman.
Oh man, okay.
Yeah, like all these people
top tier, A-list.
Just incredible. But it was such an eye-opening experience because they're just making the line. Like anybody else. Some of them are like asking it where the porta potties are because they gotta go pee. It took this idea of what celebrities are and like these stars and put them in a very pedestrian level. And quite frankly, they are no different than anybody else, But I realize there's this illusion that is sold, which is, the entourage of people around them, and the people in the crowd, on the other side of the street cheering them on. And then, on their end, it's like they're nervous. They want to make sure they look good for the pictures and all that.
Of course.
So I'm observing all this. Anyway, there was a model and actress, I probably won't say her name just to whatever, for her own sake. But she was there at that event. And I remember at the end of the evening offering her dessert, whatever. She said no, she was very sweet. And then 2 weeks later, after I've quit that job, I'm like just running on my own savings. I see her at the casting, at the callback for When They See Us. And it was such a surreal moment being on the other side now, sitting next to her as a sort of colleague, per se. And I had mentioned it to Ava DuVernay, who was the director. I was like, 2 weeks ago, I was at the Met serving, said actress. She's like, isn't that crazy how things just work out?
New York.
In New York. And so, 2 weeks later, I was in the audition room. 2 weeks after that, I got the call that I booked the job. And I was working with, at the time, one of my favorite actors and inspirations as a Latino as well, in John Leguizamo, who's actually right now in The Odyssey.
Oh, yes, yes.
But he got to play my father. I grew up studying him.
Yes.
In school, we would watch his one-person shows, which I don't know if you guys haven't watched. Definitely check them out.
Okay.
They're incredible. But yeah, I got to work with him, and then not only that, I got to tell this story and flip the narrative of these men that were so wronged on multiple occasions.
Yes, yes.
And I got to meet them. Hear their stories, hear the stories, you know, beyond what was depicted on screen, and meet their Like I met Raymond Santana's father, his brother. These are people who, you know, had their whole lives affected for decades.
And just for anyone who doesn't know, you know, what this, if they haven't seen this Netflix series, this Central Park 5, you can correct me on the dates here, but I think it was the 90s?
1989?
89. Yeah. So there was a woman who accused or said she was raped in a park, and the police went out and just arrested everybody, basically. And
yeah, I mean, there was basically this woman was running in Central Park, and she was raped, and there was an attempted murder, and she lost consciousness that night, and the cops were in a race to accuse somebody.
Exactly.
And so there were a group of children in Central Park that were just being kids, messing around, you know, like most kids would, just, you know, but they weren't causing any serious problems like raping and attempting to murder a woman. That was not their motive.
Yeah, and I think if I remember clearly, it might have been the character that you were playing, but the dad sent his son to the park thinking this would be safer than being out, you know, in the street community.
Well, yeah, I mean, like it's you know, these kids, it's New York City, right? Like, you would rather your kid be occupied playing around with friends at a park than, you know, hanging around in the corner. But you know, it was just the timing wasn't there for them, and so at the time that this is all happening, the kids are out in the park, and the cops get wind that there's a bunch of kids being raucous, and they go after them. A couple of them just run away, and then they catch a couple of them. They interrogate a few. They don't practice, you know, they don't follow through with legal practices.
Nope. Yeah, they were underage, long
without
interrogation,
all that,
forced confession type of environment. You know you did it. We know you did it. That kind of energy, and and very common practices by the police. And this highlights how they not only use those practices, but when they see, right, African American, Black individuals are like, this is a narrative. It fits what we already want to say, and they spent most of their lives behind bars until someone came and confessed. Like, no, this is. And
if it wasn't for that man confessing, and it's not just that he confessed and then they just bought whatever he said. It's that the DNA evidence that was there at the scene of the crime, thankfully also for them, it happened when DNA evidence was just starting.
Yeah.
And so they had the kit. And all those years later, one of the kids that was, you know, wrongfully convicted is in the prison, same prison as, excuse me.
You're Gucci.
He's in the same prison as the guy who actually committed the crime.
Wow.
They had an altercation, and you know, a few months pass, and the guy starts feeling remorse, and decides, you know, he catches wind that he's in prison for the thing that he had done. So he feels remorse, eventually confesses, and then the DNA evidence goes back, ties him and solely him to the crime, exonerating all the other 5 boys who were convicted. And then, fast forward like another decade for them to actually get any sort of, financial compensation for the years that had been removed from their lives. And all the hardship that they face, being labeled as sexual offenders and all that stuff. So, it's kind of surreal being a part of something that, like you said, is like it has a cultural impact, but also like more, isolated. The fact that we changed these men's lives in some capacity. Like they're not called the Central Park Five anymore. They're considered the exonerated Five. Even the show, it was originally going to be titled Central Park Five, but the director Ava, she decided to not call it that. She decided to call it When They See Us.
Wow. So intentional, right? With providing a new narrative.
Exactly.
Providing the correct narrative.
Exactly.
Wow. How do you prepare for a role like that? I mean, man, like you're getting, this personal, heavy information. You're meeting the families. You know what this means historically, what the intention here it is. So, how do you prepare as an actor for that?
I mean, like, for one, there was no part of me that could ever relate to the experience that Raymond, at least, the guy who I was playing, faced. Like I had never been arrested, let alone as a child. I had never experienced what he experienced in that regard. So I knew from jump, like that's just not the angle I can take it. But I know what it feels like to be wronged. I know what it feels like to feel like my life is passing ahead of me. There's certain universal things that you can experience as a person, and it might not be proportionally like equivalent in suffering.
Of course.
But, there were things that I could pull from in that regard. Then as far as like the actual like role and the script and all that, it's like, I'm from Miami. I'm not from Harlem. I don't have that Harlem dialect naturally, so I had to work on the dialect. I had to train significantly to get like, swole for that role. And actually, this is a crazy story, but 3 days prior to beginning shooting, I threw out my back training because I was about to start filming, and I thought, well, okay, I got to really push it. I want to make sure like I'm
ready.
top shape, because once I start working, it's going to be harder to be consistent with my training. And so that day, I decided to load up my back with squats. I went down, and then as soon as I tried to go up, it felt like a knife had just stabbed me in the back.
Oh no!
Instantly dropped the weights. I could not stand up straight. I couldn't stand.
No.
Luckily, at the time, I was living with two of my dearest friends, and the guys at the gym, they carried me into an Uber. They went with me to my apartment, carried me up the steps, and then my roommates, that day they had to feed me and all that. Eventually, the gym set me up with a dry needleist. Not like acupuncture, but dry needle. That relieved a lot of the initial tension. And my agent at the time, her father is like, I guess, connected in the medical field in New York. And I didn't have insurance at the time. And they snuck me into the Manhattan Spine Center.
I love it.
Scott, what's his name? Man, I forget his name, but the doctor over there, he did like, I don't know how many hours of therapy that day, and then the following day. So it was just like in the span of 3 days over the weekend, they got me to standing and walking. And so there's like a scene in When They See Us where I'm talking to Ilambe, and he's walking. It's just like a walk and talk, and we're just walking, talking. But that day, it was like a 13-hour day. And at the beginning of the day, I was like popping Advils and just like pushing through. By the end, I'm like, you know, struggling to stay up, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I got through it.
Man, you're load up. I feel like that's such a thing to do when you're like in it, you're locked in, maybe you got a competition or you got something going. It's like, I'm gonna go all out on the squat. I'm like, someone needs to be there to be like, just
it's not going to really make that much of a difference between today and 3 days from now.
3 days from now, you know, you could load up the hawk squat, load up the leg press, like load up something else. You don't got to do the full.
I mean, to this day, I don't load my back anymore.
Yeah.
It's all front loaded or.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many workarounds, you know, to doing leg stuff. Like,
and that's where, I mean, I love machines. Like, I know a lot of people be like, oh, no, machines are not that great. They're great if you're trying to, you know, really specify a part of your body, like maybe just the quads or maybe just the hamstrings, and protect your back. Maybe you have like a back injury. A lot of athletes, they'll use different, you know, types of machines if they're hurt in a certain way to still train. Something interesting you said, and I wanted to ask you about that because I think it's a misconception. Maybe you can inform me. A lot of people will say that the actor life, you know, is chill, it's easy. But you just said a 13-hour shift, right?
Yeah.
Tell us more about that. Like, what is it like to be on set? For I know you have this new series, S.W.A.T. Remind me, it's S.W.A.T. Exiles. This is going to be cool. So there's a huge fan base that's wanting to see this because they didn't continue with the S.W.A.T. original.
Correct.
This is now the is it called a spinoff?
Yeah.
Okay, spinoff, and you're in it, which is going to be awesome. So check that out, guys. It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. What was it like to be on set, and what is the life of an actor when you're on set?
So there's a common saying. They say acting is hurry up and wait. You know. So like when you go to set, you know, the day starts off in the hair and makeup trailer. First, you know, you go to your trailer, drop off whatever you need, and then they'll quickly call you into the hair and makeup trailer where they'll do whatever they need to do. And then, you know, ideally, you do that, you go to your trailer, change, and then they'll take you to set.
Okay.
Sometimes, though, things are delayed.
Yeah.
And then you're just waiting in your trailer. Sometimes 30 minutes, sometimes 5 hours. It just does. You just don't know.
Yes.
It just depends on how the day is going.
Yes.
And if there's any, you know, random occurrences where the shoot gets delayed or they gotta switch the scene order for the day, like you don't know.
Yeah.
But you just have to stay prepared.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like a 13-hour day can look like 45 minutes of working and then 12 and a half hours or 12 hours and 25 minutes of just
being ready.
Just being ready, or it could be 13 hours of just constantly filming. You know, it varies.
Wow.
It really does vary.
Wow.
And so you got to find ways to keep yourself occupied. You got to find ways to keep yourself present, and alert and awake.
Yes.
Because when the cameras are rolling, you got to be on.
No. It gives me this feeling. So a couple things. When I was maybe 19 years old, I was on the set of Criminal Minds. I was an extra.
Cool.
I got like one line in there. It was really fun experience for me. And I got to see a little bit of that. You know, how people are moving and then a lot of people are waiting and people's emotions are going up, going down, yelling and whatnot. So something that made me think right now is jiu-jitsu and defense. When you have someone on top of you and they're just putting a bunch of pressure on you and you got to just stay patient. Like the opportunity is going to come.
Yep.
I'm going to be able to frame. But if I start freaking out, if I start doing it, you know, it's going to go the wrong way. It's not going to go my way or whatnot. So I'm kind of getting those visuals in there, which aligns kind of with like an emotional discipline that you have to have. Yeah, I'm in control of me. I know this is not the best place to be right now. It's not the most fun, but I can do this. And as a father, I can relate to that. When you have a 2-year-old who's screaming mama.
Oh man.
When you have a 6-year-old who is like, I want to ride a bike, I want to go here, I want to do that. And then you have a tired wife who's trying to wean off the breastfeeding, and you know, you have a day job, you got to keep up with the training because that's how I stay zen in my life.
Right.
There's these moments where I have to just take a breath and go, this is going to pass.
Yeah.
But more importantly, when I look back at my life, these moments right here are the ones that I'm going to be talking about.
Yeah.
I remember when my baby girl was 2, running around yelling mama, when my 6-year-old was running around wanting to jump on my back and do the rear naked choke. Like, I would be talking about that, and I can imagine that in those moments you're trying to also take it in. Like, I'm on set, I'm an actor, I'm on a really, big show that's going to come out, and I'm trying to live in the moment. So what are your skills, what are your strategies to stay in the moment that help you stay present?
Well, to touch on what you're saying, as far as like appreciating what's happening, before booking S.W.A.T. Exiles, there was like 2 years where it was really rough. I mean, we had the writer's strike.
That's right.
The actor strike.
Yeah.
And then tailing off of the pandemic.
And then AI coming in and really creating fear.
All that stuff is going on, right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of the backdrop of what I was dealing with prior to booking that job. And I was living in LA for at that time it was like about 5 years, and I really didn't feel like I had a community out here. I didn't feel like I really needed to be here anymore because everything is turned digital, so I could audition from anywhere, really. But when I started training here at 10th Planet Van Nuys, shout out to my girl Jean and Alder, I started feeling a routine. Kind of touching back on what you're saying, that emotional, the zen, the resilience. I think, I lacked it. I had lost a sense of courage, for lack of a better term. I had grown soft, and I knew. I mean, I had done wrestling in middle school, and combat sports since little, but I hadn't done it in years, and I knew that I was missing that. Which is why I decided to come back and start training. I was like, you know what? I'm not on a show. If I get bruised up, cut up, whatever, like, I know I'm going to gain something.
Of course.
Going through it all, and I really did. I think my mental fortitude was fortified, and I felt like I gained more in challenging myself and putting myself in uncomfortable situations than had I just played it safe and protected my body for a possible job or whatever. And so, I mean, I'm really grateful for that. I think now when I'm on set, here's the thing is, like, I have a lot of responsibility, especially with the role that I'm playing with now. There's a lot of lines that I need to learn, a lot of scenes that I'm in, all that stuff. And so if I'm not being used on set, in front of the camera, I'm trying to just prepare for the next scene that's coming up. Prepare for the next episode if I have the script. I'm trying to just water the plants. So that, when the time comes, I'm ready to go. There are times though, like when it is really just like, okay, I'm here with my castmates. Let's build rapport. Let's check in on each other. Because that's also important, right? That everyone feels like a team, not just with my cast, but with the crew as well. Like, I've built a pretty good relationship with everyone on set, both on screen and off. And I think that, cultivating a good environment only helps. Because you want not just yourself to want to go back to work, you want everyone else to buy in and feel the same thing, right? It's the fundamentals. It's the non-tangibles. It's the things that you do in anything in life, right? Whether it's in a sport, whether it's in your job, your career, it's doing those things that build culture, build support, and you can't really put a price on that, but it's so important, it's so valuable. And I know, because you mentioned theater, I did theater, so when I was in high school, I was such a back and forth kid. Maybe you could relate to this. I haven't met many people that can relate. It sounds like you could, though, because I played football, middle linebacker, captain of the team, Van Nuys. I'm Van Nuys born and raised. Like, I love Van Nuys.
And then I would do theater. I would be running after practice, and I was just part of the theater club, and no one. Why do you do that? Why are you going from football to? 'Cause I like it.
Yeah.
But what I really liked was the camaraderie that you build in theater. It's you all have one goal in mind, and you want to put on this show, and you guys are working together, building sets, building costumes, and it just building this family-like environment for the big day.
Yep.
How much of that is either lost or is still there on a set where it's different?
I mean, I think it's like, to me, that's one of the most important things, right? It's a collaborative process.
Yeah.
It's a collaborative art. You can't make a movie or show or anything with just yourself.
No.
You can't. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Obviously, like in Hollywood, the people who get the most recognition tend to be the actors because they're front facing.
Yes.
But the reality is actually when you're on set, you're just a small piece of this bigger mechanism.
Yeah.
And it's a humbling experience too, when you realize, oh shit, like I could be replaced, that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like it's something that for me has given me an awareness of like the blessing that I have to be able to do what I do, to make an honest living doing what I love.
Yeah.
In playing basically pretend with just a bunch of people who just love it as much as I do.
How much can you tell us about what's going to happen in this upcoming season?
I don't know if I could share so much what's going to happen, but
what should we
I can
expect?
This new season of S.W.A.T, which is actually like a departure from the original because it's like a whole new network that it's airing on.
It's going to be Stars, right?
Stars.
Yep.
It's going to be a Stars original. But there is the, quarterback, as he calls him, Shemar Moore. Mm-hmm. He's coming back as Hondo, and he's now being tasked to train these set of recruits.
Yes.
Who are, so to speak, exiles. Mm-hmm. They're like the rejects of the S.W.A.T, organization, and the real sort of conflict here is that S.W.A.T as an institution is being threatened. And so now it falls on them, the pile of rejects, to, prove that it is a necessary force for good. And so that's sort of the premise.
Yeah. I mean, we can't relate to that in the world, right? That's not going on. I mean, there isn't a conversation constantly going on about the institutions that we are living amongst, and a younger generation kind of going, I don't want to be a part of it.
And this is the beauty, is that the way that the show is structured is you got the youth, or like that sort of younger generation, challenging the older generation. And in the process, you start to find where that bridge, is, because I think that so much of the conflict these days is that gap. It's that divide between, the older generations thinking that they know best and that their way is the only way. And the younger generation, with, I guess, like an innocent ignorance to certain things, wanting to do it their way, and thinking that their way is the right way and the best way, and so it's trying to see, like, it's putting to question, where can we meet in the middle? But obviously, like, the show itself is, action packed, and it's got a lot of that fun stuff as well mixed into it all. So it's been a lot of fun, and kind of touching back on what I had said before, I'm not playing a
stereotypical Latino that we're used to seeing role.
Exactly.
What, if you don't mind me asking, I don't want to get it wrong, I saw it online, but Cuban and Honduran. Central American, brother. Salvadorian.
Word? Okay.
Something that surprised me, and you as a Central American and Cuban will know, is how close Central America is to the Caribbean area. Because for those who have LAUSD education, it's not the best, but if you go look at a map, So we have North America, you have South America and Central America, but it curves, and then you have North America curve at the top.
Like,
so you end up having Florida and the Caribbean, Cuba, Puerto Rico, DR, and Central America very much in the same neighborhood, very much in the same area and neighborhood. Congratulations on that, for
Thank
real.
you, man.
To be able to take that vision that you had and make it a reality, and not. And you said you had to say no to some roles. I mean, can you share about that? Like, what? Maybe not specifics, but what you did turn down. And for what
I
reasons?
mean, like I'd met with a director in the past where there was, at the time, there was an actor who had been, getting a lot of grief for saying something that wasn't appropriate. I don't know if, I guess I could say it.
Sure.
Liam Neeson at the time was, he had said, he would kill a black man. He wanted to kill a black man because he had done something to his, I guess, girlfriend or wife. I don't know, but anyway, it didn't sit well.
Yeah.
And he was slated to play the lead of this movie, and the director had met with me because he wanted me to play the antagonist of the film, which was this guy who was part of the cartel, who was preventing him from, he was basically going after this kid that had crossed the border, and Liam Neeson was basically playing the white knight. And
that's a big movie opportunity, my brother.
It's like, but there's layers to it, right? Of
course.
And it's like, do I want to be the, also I read the script, right? Like I'm okay if I have to play a drug dealer or a cartel member, whatever, like as long as it's humanized, as long as it's something where we can explore the human condition and like, because you think about like even cartel members, not to like trivialize or put like make something seem lesser than,
Sure.
but like some of them, they are recruited early on.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, that for one, that's all that they know, that's their world, but then say they do want to leave.
Yeah. There is no leaving.
There is no leaving.
There is no
right?
leaving.
And when I met with the director, he had mentioned this thing about this guy who the character was based off of loosely. It was a real guy. And that was what happened to him.
Yeah.
He joined, but he didn't want to. And so I was like, I love that. You know, let's explore this.
Yes.
I read the script and it wasn't really reflected on the script.
I see what you mean.
So I was like, I could say yes to doing it and hope that, I can talk to the producers and the writers and whatnot, and then they can sort of, but I was like, I'm not going to take that chance.
Wow.
It's too big a risk to take on this role.
Yeah.
And then hope that they change the script to make it a more well-rounded character.
Yeah. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
The integrity on your behalf. I mean, that's a big deal.
And what comes on the other side is a couple of years of no work, and kind of, sort of wondering if I had made the right decision.
In the most expensive city in the country.
Most expensive, exactly. Yeah. Like, and sometimes, you start to doubt the decisions you made prior, but I think looking back, I'm proud of myself for not having done that, and I mean, it's no shame to those who do play those roles. We got to make ends meet in whatever we can as well. But I think like it's just trying to be intentional, because the reality is, man, like if I'm doing this just for money, there are so many other ways I can make money more consistently and more stably than this career. Of course. But I love what I do, and I find that I think my why for why I do this is bigger than me. And I just have to remind myself that, I have to constantly be reminding myself why I'm doing this beyond just the money. And I'm grateful for it, man. I'm grateful to have had this opportunity that I just got. I'm grateful that we're going back again, building on what we did in this first season that you guys will soon see in September. And I mean, like, it's It's a journey, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes you work, sometimes when it rains, it pours, and then
Yes.
there's dry spells. But
Yeah.
the beauty of the career that I've chosen is I have learned resilience
Yes.
in a way that many people won't. I have learned how to handle rejection
Yeah.
in ways that many people won't.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, I can't even tell you how many, like hundreds of no's
Really?
that I've had to.
Man, how do you deal with rejection? Because that's a big deal. Even me, I'm 30 years old. I'm married. I don't have my ring on today. I should have wore it, but I'm married. And my biggest, I guess, one of my biggest challenges in life before getting married was the fear of rejection, either from the ladies, whether it was at work, and I still have to sometimes work with that in myself. Like I said, I was a little afraid to ask you to come on the pod, just that fear. So how do you deal with it, and what have you learned through rejection?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, people often see rejection as like a missed opportunity. Whereas now I actually see it as the biggest opportunity, because it provides you the opportunity to self-assess. It provides you an opportunity to, you know, say it is like asking somebody on a date, right, and they reject you. Then you have the opportunity to meet someone now that is actually more in line than that person that just rejected you. I see it more now as an opportunity to just build off of something. There is power in saying no to things, you know, and so that's also the other thing too, is understanding that the no's that come my way, you know, also afford me the ability to say no, you know, the other way. And it's just I think a process of distillation. The projects that didn't go my way, I wouldn't want ultimately, because that they didn't see me as that person, right? So I'm not gonna cry over something that was never mine. Instead, like I look for the things that I can build off of. And now, like, auditioning is a little different, where in the past I used to think like, okay, this might be the role, this might be the thing that, you know, sets me up. I see now like an audition as just another chance to just practice. You know, I take it less as like a thing that I need and something that I enjoy doing. So I take a lot more creative liberties with my auditions, and ironically, I get better responses.
Of course. That seems to me to also, going back a little bit to that generational gap that exists. Something that I've noticed. I work with so in my past career, I was a mental health therapist. Now, you know, I work with kids with developmental disabilities, and then I also train clients, and you know, I train myself and do a lot of stuff. But what I've noticed, because I've gotten a lot of younger clients in my careers, is that it seems like the newer generations are becoming more comfortable with the reality that it's okay to have boundaries, to say no. And I feel like the previous generation sometimes holds this mentality of, you gotta go through things that make you uncomfortable, and you have to say yes for a while. And I feel like the younger generation is not buying that. They're going, I'm gonna go with what fulfills me, what brings me meaning, what, you know, whether that's something you disagree with, whether it's something you don't like, but I think this is part of my journey, and they'll eat shit for a while to make this a reality. And I love that energy. I think it's a great energy to have and to learn. And it's interesting that you're learning that through the rejection process, seeing it as an opportunity. I tell people it's a perspective shift. A lot of people I train in the gym, they come and they have, I want to call it a pessimistic view on the world sometimes. And that can come from, you know, let's give it the benefit of the doubt. If you're very unhealthy, you have effectively removed yourself from maybe the good things that come in life, right? If you're not moving as much, then maybe your biochemistry is not working as well. You're not building as many relationships as you can be building. You're kind of stuck, quite literally, in this way of life. So you can have a very negative outlook on the world. And in the training space, I get to see where that's coming from. And I challenge them that it's just a perspective shift, but it's a difficult process to go through, because you have to view it as an opportunity. You have to view it as an assessment and accountability. Like, what can I do to make this a different way? But also boundaries. it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
It's okay to start something and then say, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want to start jujitsu, but what if I don't like it? Then you try something else.
Yeah.
Like, that's
It's as
okay.
simple as that, yeah.
It's super cool to just go to the next thing and figure it out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, there's a podcast that I listened to, Mel Robbins.
Love Mel Robbins.
Yeah, she was great.
She's great.
She had a neuroscientist come on and talk about the brain and all that.
Yeah.
And he said, and it really stuck with me, he says that the brain is like a supercomputer geared towards finding the thing you tell it to look for.
Yep.
So if you tell yourself, if you're nihilistic about the world, if you're pessimistic about just, the day-to-day things, and, you're gonna reinforce that.
Yes.
You're gonna look for the things that reinforce your belief in
Yes.
those things.
Yeah.
You're gonna double down.
Yeah.
Even when there's signs pointing to the opposite.
Yeah.
And so I think it's so important to really be aware of the way that you think, the way that you interact and engage with people and things. Like, I believe we're all connected.
Yeah.
And how we engage with one another is, it's a feedback loop.
Yeah.
The good that you put out will eventually come back. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be proportionate. It's not going to be exact one for one, but it'll be, I think, in a way that in the sort of arc of fate or whatever you want to call it, is justified. And I mean, that's just something that I was thinking as you were saying, is like, so much of what we think manifests because we look for it.
Yeah. I mean, you see it in something as simple as, like, maybe you get a new car, and now you see that car everywhere. You're like,
right.
Like, I had never seen this car
You ever
before.
play that game, Punch Buggy, No Punch Back? Or
Yep.
And you're always peeled, your eyes are always peeled for the little Volkswagen buggies. Like, yeah, it's pretty incredible.
It's
like,
an amazing thing that we're able to do.
Yeah.
But again, it can be hacked. It can be hacked, whether through trauma. Trauma will do that. If you've gone through some shit, man, and you haven't dealt with it in a healthy way, then you will quite literally live through the world through your trauma. That will be the lens you see it.
Yep.
If you had someone in your ear at a young age telling you suck, telling you you're worthless, or you were in a relationship that was really intense and you loved the person but they abused you, like, you will start thinking everyone is like this. Or
Right.
you'll start, you trauma bonding, or all these other, therapeutic terminologies that are very real in practice when you see it. But that's the importance of just connecting with people who are going to love you genuinely, who are going to build a true relationship with you, and also moving your body. You got to move your body. There is a superpower that not to get too woo-woo in my own view of the world, but, like, I truly believe that there is an emotional / spiritual window that you get when you move your body. Sometimes I'm working out and I'm watching my mind and what's coming up. It's like meditative, and I can see where maybe I'm still upset about something, or maybe I'm, overthinking something, and through the movement of my body, I can work it out. I'm like, oh yeah, I was looking at that a little bit too egoic, or I was looking at that a little too aggressive, or whatever the thing, the challenge is. For me, those are the ones. So it was aggression and ego. Those are the things that I had to work through. But again, trauma, his past experiences, they change your perspective to only see the things that have left an imprint on you.
As I've gotten older, I find, and I've used this word perspective a lot this year in particular, because I've realized that some of the most trying times I've faced, and some of what I thought were like the worst moments of my life, actually afforded me the greatest gift that I got, which is perspective. Because if you don't go through those things, then you're never going to be afforded the luxury of what it means to be on the other side of it.
Yes.
You can't understand when you have something good if you don't have the equal and opposite, counterweight to that.
Yeah.
And so for me, those 2 years of unemployment and like struggling to find ways to make ends meet, and doubting myself, and feeling like I was in a rut, like, it felt awful at the time.
Yeah.
But I had to go through it so that when I got this opportunity, I could not just appreciate it, but make the most out of it, because I understood then this is probably not a guarantee going forward.
Yeah.
So you got to make do with what you got, you know. Whereas in the past, like, you know, I probably, you know, would have been naive and thought, well, this is not in line with the artistic, you know, thing that I would want to do creatively as an actor.
Yes.
Like, I want to be in films that are Oscar nominated, you know.
Yes.
And it's like, yes, I still want that. I would
course.
love to be in like critically acclaimed films and shows, but my path has it so that I can appreciate the job no matter what it is.
Yes. Yeah.
And just being able to stay in this industry, especially in these kinds of times where everything is so uncertain, is the greatest blessing I could have.
Something I love about what you just said there. It's going back to that conversation of you being in catering for all these celebrities, and then kind of seeing them as like regular people, because they are. Sometimes those films that you'll definitely be in, I know you will, like you're going to be in those films. But sometimes when we think of those individuals in those films, we don't see the hard work that they've put in, their journey. And I think the same thing happens in fitness. You only see people's great physiques when they get to the other side. And, oh, you look great, you look fantastic. Yeah, but you didn't see the consistent day-to-day dieting, the consistent day-to-day work, the long months of I'm just getting rejected, or whatever that looks like for the individual. And it's very similar to what you were talking about. I tell people it's so difficult to genuinely qualify if a situation is negative or positive, because there's been situations in my life that I had at the time, I thought, enough evidence to say this is a negative thing. Yeah. But then 5 years later, I find myself in a situation that's by all means super positive, that wouldn't have been the case if that one quote unquote negative thing hadn't happened. Yeah. So I stopped trusting that thing of this is negative, so I'm going to be boohoo about it. I'm like, I don't know if it's negative, actually.
You know, like, so part of, I think the thing that I love about my job is that I'm having to constantly question things, right? And a big part of the job is also finding the gray area in everything. Yeah. To put things as good and bad is so binary, and I think we're trained, especially on social media, to put things in either side, good or bad. Yeah. And I think as a society, we've sort of started conditioning ourselves to think in such ways, and as a result, we've become so divided. Yeah. It takes a lot of effort to find the gray space. Yes. It takes a lot of effort and compassion to interrogate and ask questions that aren't in alignment with what you believe in, or, you know, like asking questions so that you have a better understanding of someone who thinks differently. Yeah. And you know, the categorization of good and bad is so destructive, because it minimizes, or I guess it trivializes the vastness of what an experience is.
Yeah. And the human one. Yeah. The human one is very rarely just good and bad. It's a lot of gray. Yeah. Part of the healing process that a lot of people don't see happen is, so in therapy, a lot of it is exploring that gray. You know, let's say you had a parent who was abusive. A part of me, for my own healing, was trying to understand that perspective. You know, there was a civil war going on in El Salvador when my parents were coming up. Imagine that. Imagine being 13, 14, 15, escaping a civil war, no education, dropping out like in the first grade, super poor, coming to another country, making it, having children at a young age. I have 2 kids now. I'm like, you know how much education I have? And there's every once in a while, I'm like, I'm gonna throw these kids out the window. Like, these kids, but it have all this education, I have this understanding, I have all this information. They had none of that. That's gray. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
You know, because anyone can view that and just say that's negative or bad or abuse, and sometimes it is. But there's a gray there that you can heal from if you've been hurt by this, if you just explore it with a little bit more compassion,
Yeah.
humility, understanding, and that takes time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does take maturing.
Yeah.
19-year-old me wouldn't be saying this.
Same.
19-year-old me would be
Yeah.
like, no, I hate them.
Yep.
30-year-old me is going, I understand them.
Yep.
I get them.
And the thing is, you know, I've learned this lesson the hard way, is that you can only offer someone what you offer yourself. Like you can't expect someone to love you if you don't even love yourself, right?
You won't even know that they're loving
You can't offer compassion if you can't give it to yourself.
Yeah.
Understanding if you can't become self-aware enough
Yeah.
to understand yourself.
Yeah.
Like those are things that, I've had to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
You know, and I've actually, it's almost like I was the victim of my own poison by not offering certain things to myself.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, if I thought negatively about certain people, somehow it would manifest back onto me.
Yeah.
You know, it's even like, say like you hate rich people. You're preventing yourself from ever being rich.
Yep.
Because whatever judgments you impose on them,
Yeah.
whether they may be right or wrong, you're not going to want to embody anything associated to that.
Yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, I feel like now I'm just a lot more intentional with how I engage with certain things.
Yeah.
Like even on Instagram, right? Like on the comment section, sometimes I'll get people saying random stuff that annoys me.
Yeah.
And I'll have the desire to want to respond.
Yeah.
And then I check myself and I say, what good is this actually going to do?
Right.
How is this going to serve you in any way, shape, or form? How is this even going to contribute to them?
Yes.
If I'm just bantering, going back and forth, bickering
Yeah.
with people,
Yeah.
it doesn't do me any good.
Right.
So now I'm like a lot more intentional with like just putting good out,
Yeah. Yeah.
supporting, uplifting people,
Yes.
like showing love and encouraging other people who are like making their own path to
Yeah.
keep going.
Right.
Because I would want the same to be reciprocated on my end. And yeah, I find a lot more peace comes in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Driving for me was that teacher for me, and I'll tell you, you might
I
know.
still
where I'm
gotta
going.
learn that
Yeah.
one, especially in LA, man.
Social media comments, they hurt.
Yeah.
But I wasn't getting as many as maybe you have seen. But driving for me, I remember I lived in Lancaster for a few years. It was kind of like I had just had my son. I got an opportunity. I just chased the money. They paid like $25K more a year. I was like, yeah, I'm going out there. Moved my young family. It was the worst decision, and I own it now, with my wife, because we were young and we had all of our family here. And I said, we're moving out to the AV. And if you're not familiar with the AV, it's basically, if you play GTA 5, you play GTA 5?
No.
So in Grand Theft Auto, if you
I
play
played GTA, but not,
so
not
it's if you've played the LA version, I think San Andreas had it as well. If you travel really far up north in their map, you end up in this desert area that's really horrible and ugly in the video game. That's Lancaster.
That's Lancaster.
That's Lancaster. It's based off of that. And I moved my family out there. I'll never forget, a week there, I'm going through the gram and I see a meme that says, you know you're in the hood if you see this building. It was the building I just moved into.
That's funny.
A couple lessons there. One, you have to build relationships with people.
Yeah.
One of my neighbors, he was selling weed. My other neighbor, he had just gotten out of prison, and he was a heroin or fentanyl recovering addict, but would still use. So built an amazing relationship with them both. I would buy weed from this dude, and I would basically just listen to him and his life, and we would just sit for hours and talk. Super important. I think back to your having perspective and being able to be there and just be exposed to different elements of life. It's such a beautiful teacher. But what I started noticing when I moved back and I was driving back in LA traffic, I was getting triggered, and I always wanted to go fast. I always want to go fast. I want to go fast. I want to go fast. I'm like, what if I made this my teacher? What if I took everything that's happening on the road and I used it to highlight what I'm feeling and to try to reciprocate in a way that's more positive? You want to go ahead, you go.
Yeah.
You want to go faster, go. And I'm only going to go the speed limit. Oh my God, that was the hardest part. I would be driving, 40 and a 40, 35 and a 35,
Damn.
60 and a 60, and cars would be zooming by. And I'd be like, I'm going to get to where I'm going.
That's true.
Like, why
And sometimes racing to get there actually keeps you from getting there,
They've done studies on this. If you cut in and out of traffic, you may just get there a couple seconds before the person who goes speed limit.
Yeah.
Not even worth it. And you put yourself in danger, you put yourself in
Others
in danger.
Yeah.
So I use it as a teacher. Just like you were talking about social media. And man, do I appreciate that I did that, because I was able to learn so much about myself. Just exploring, self-reflecting, and saying, what's coming up here? Oh, you want to be big man? You want to be fast? You want, like, whatever was coming up, and I was just exploring it. Memories of my dad driving would come up, and memories of my mom driving would come up, and I'm like, oh, this is the work.
Yeah, I mean, it's a practice of patience, isn't it? That is one thing I do struggle with, is like the LA traffic. Like the other day, I was getting on the highway, and there's like that merging line where you go, there's two cars, the green light, and then you go into the expressway. And some guy just decided to, like, I'm about to merge onto the next lane, just cut in front of me.
Yeah.
And I got irritated because he's putting me in danger.
Yes.
Not just like with his car, but now I'm being sandwiched between him and the car that's driving 60 miles an hour.
Yep.
So yeah, I had him. I gave him a mouthful.
I hear you.
I could have avoided that had I practiced more patience.
And
but,
that's the beauty
we're a
of
work in
learning.
progress.
It's a work in progress. You're never there. Going back to fitness, like, you're never there. It's a lifestyle. It's a thing that you have to do consistently, daily. And yeah, it's something that I started doing with driving. Moving on a little bit, just because I know I wanted to touch on this as well. So you're on this new show, and we already talked about the life of an actor and everything there. What's something that people maybe don't understand about that lifestyle, that you think it's like a myth of the actor, that you would want to highlight as, no, this is not true?
It's not all glitz and glam. I think there's this illusion that, like, people who are on TV, live this, very exorbitant lifestyle. And I think maybe that might have been true a couple of generations ago, but now it's very much kind of just like a
regular job.
I mean, it has a lot more variabilities, I think, than the average job, whether it be like the time in between jobs, the consistency of work. Like sometimes you could be booked all year round and then have no work for 3 years. So there's a lot more fluctuation. But in terms of like the lavish lifestyle, there's only a very select few people who actually get to live lavishly. And I think, like, there's a lot of people who want to be actors but don't understand like the work that's actually required. And I don't think the work is mingling, the social, like, climbing, that stuff hasn't served me, nor do I entertain it. I don't really care to social climb. I don't really care, who versus you. Like, I think that's putting your energy in the wrong places. Even social media. I'm not really active on social media. I mean, I'll follow what my friends are doing and stuff, and it'll be like a fun way to just like either get certain silly news or sports related news, or watch silly videos, but I'm not like trying to post photos of myself seeming to be something that I'm not. I just feel like that and it's not to shame or put down anyone who does that. It's just, that's just not my path. And I don't, for me, find it to be all that productive. I try to make the most out of the actual work itself, whether it be the auditions or the job that I actually have. And then when, the time comes where I have to promote and do all the press stuff, I'm on, like I could do that too. But I'm not concerning myself with how I am depicting myself to be in a digital platform
Yeah.
where people don't actually have this interaction with me.
Yeah. That's so important, bro. Oh my God, I'm so glad
And
you're
I-
saying that.
and
It's
I-
so important.
And I appreciate my privacy.
Yeah.
Like, to me, the ideal situation would be to make a living
Yeah.
as an actor
Yeah.
without having to be dealing with all the other extraneous activities of, you know, fame and all that.
Yeah.
I would rather be anonymous.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just go about my business doing the thing that I love. That said, I'm also aware, like, you know, there's times where you get a lot of attention, you know. When They See Us came out, it was crazy.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I didn't have Instagram, and then I was told to get Instagram by the production, and I was like, okay. And then it went from like 500 followers to 250,000 in the span of a week.
Wow.
Obviously, since then, I haven't really posted much,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
some of the followers have gone by
Yeah,
the wayside, but it's like, you know, the work speaks for itself.
Yes.
I think that's the big one. And yeah, I mean, the other thing that I've learned is when there's a spotlight on you, people will come flying like moths to light.
Yeah. Yeah.
There'll be people coming out the woodworks,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
saying how much they love you
Yeah,
and care for you and all that. But when the times get tough, so many of those same people, they just disappear.
Yeah.
You know, so I've learned, you know, to have a very level-headed way of looking at not just the career, but the relationships that I build.
Yeah.
You know, to me, consistency is so important.
Yeah.
If I have people in my life who have been consistent, you know, checking in, you know, being present with me, showing up in the ways that I find important, like, those are people who I'll ride with.
Yes. Yeah.
To the end.
Yeah. It's so important. I think I would want to reiterate that. So I was at an event last night. Coach Chris, you know Coach Chris?
Yeah.
He had an event that he was promoting. It was the one that's on that board. And it was awesome. It was, you know, sparring matches and whatnot. And I was there just doing media, just interviewing people. But I took my best friend. And my mother-in-law asked me this morning, like, oh, he doesn't like feel like left out or anything? You're out here interviewing people? I'm like, no, because like, he's my best friend. Like, we ride together. He's secure. Our relationship is secure.
Yeah.
He understands that I'm kind of working this, but we're also having a good time. You know, we had a drink, and it's so important to have that because he's going to check me also. Hey,
Yeah.
dude, you're being a little too much right now.
Having yes men around is never a good thing.
No.
Yeah.
I am curious. What's your acting like method? Are you in character?
I think it just
like,
depends. I mean, like I mentioned, I went to school for
Yeah.
acting, right? And in school they give you like your toolbox, and I was fortunate enough to go to a really good school.
Where'd you go?
It's called Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Really prestigious university for musical theater and acting.
You got pipes?
No, that's one thing, man. I wish. I'll spare you that.
Yeah.
But you know, they taught us a whole list of things from like vocal training to dialect training, movement, like being aware of your, you know, like body in space. A lot of it was just training you to be aware.
Okay.
I think as I, you know, I've gotten older and as I've departed from the, you know, traditional training,
Sure.
I've found that like different roles require different tools, right? So for like Raymond Santana, right, where so much of it was physical alteration, vocal alteration, you know, a lot of that was trying to sit in that character and in that mode of thinking as well, as much as possible.
Yeah.
I went to the audition as the character,
Wow.
which I don't typically do.
Yeah.
But to me, it helped maintain a sense of I guess consistency for that role.
Yes.
And it made me believe that I could play the character.
Yes.
But you know, for something like the character that I'm playing on S.W.A.T right now, Ethan, a lot of it was, I mean, psychologically a little, challenging because he, without spoiling too much, he is a bit of a he has social ineptitude. He's not the most socially,
which is a common new generation thing.
Yeah. But it's a fun character to play because it's not typically what I would be cast as. And so, it's trying to find ways that I can feel comfortable, with that. And then just like more technically speaking, it's like script analysis, right?
Oh, okay.
For me, that's one of the most important things is just like reading what the story is that you're telling.
Yes.
Whether it be a 3-page audition or, a 60-page episode. It's like, you gotta know what the beginning, middle, and end is of this thing.
Yeah.
And then figure out what your role is in that. And then find ways to make it your own.
Yeah.
Like when you really distill it, it's a pretty simple process, but it's a lot of fun. And but that requires a lot of training. I mean,
and when you have such a big beast like a system, and going back to like even the movie, like there's so many moving parts, right? So like if someone just changes one element of the story, it can really have an impact on the entire, narrative, the entire storyline. Same thing with these systems, man. Sometimes, just making some changes in funding, some changes in personnel, it changes everything on the ground, and it can make it more difficult. And you're still dealing with humans, right? Like you're still dealing with humans on the ground who are trying to do their best. Yeah. And sometimes they're also burnt out. Sometimes they don't understand the changes that are coming down, so they don't want to participate in some of these changes. And there's so many barriers in that, but that zooming out, that I think we've been touching on that theme a lot, that helps me there too. Sometimes maybe I have like, let's call it a resistant client or a resistant parent or a resistant family. Like that's just another word for I don't understand what I need to do here differently to help us have a better at bat here. And once we can do that, then we can actually make some change. But we have to understand, we have to be open to building relationships that are other than just the reality that we've lived. Yeah. It's really useful. Just zooming out.
Kind of touching back on my dad and his his poor habits and his health. I used to be very frustrated by it, and there was a part of me that had a little resentment for the way that he would handle his health. Yeah. And I would get upset whenever he would buy McDonald's or whatever. Yeah. And eventually, this is over a span of years, as his health continued to decline and he ended up suffering the most. Yeah. I stopped trying to get him to do things and just started supporting, what would make him happiest. Yeah. Because I learned the hard way, like you can't change anybody. You can't, if they're resistant towards something, by trying to force them to do it is only going to make them double down on not doing that thing. Yes. And so it's kind of going back to what I was even saying before, is like the brain is a supercomputer geared towards finding the thing you tell it to look for. If their mind is set to not wanting to do this, you tell them why they should, they'll try to find copious amount of reasons for why they shouldn't. Yep. And so, eventually I got to the point where, you want McDonald's? Sure, I'll order it for you. Here you go. Like at this point, it's now quality of life over quantity of life in his, his regard. And so the irony of it all too is, one of his biggest vices was his diet and just like wanting to eat whatever he wanted to eat. Yeah. Now, sadly, he doesn't even enjoy eating. Yeah. Yeah. He can't even taste the food.
Oh gosh.
So that's the big irony of it all. Yeah. It's like, the thing that you enjoyed most is actually now taken from you because of the choices you made all those years prior.
Maybe this is helpful. This is something I use and helpful for you. I use this with my clients a lot, the bigger clients who struggle with dieting, 400 pounds. So one of my clients actually just hit a milestone through dieting, lost 100 pounds. And it was just incredible. But what I tell them is, and it's counter to a lot of personal trainers that they believe diet should be taught first and then the working out second. I have a different approach. I think fall in love with movement, fall in love with working out, the diet will follow. And the reason I say that, and this is where it may be helpful, is that dieting is connected to our eating habits, right? How we learn to eat before we even have language to speak. So before you can say what you want and say like, oh, I want to eat this, someone's feeding you, someone's giving you food. Before you can actually go, well, I actually don't want this, I want that, someone is just giving you this. And this is how, cross cultures, people like different things. Oh, how is it that you like that? I would never eat that. Yeah, well, that was their culture. That's how they were raised. So when you try to make those changes as an adult, you're trying to, so going back to the brain, the neural pathways of the brain, maybe you've heard of this, the neural pathways is when we do something, there's a pathway that the brain creates, and the more you reinforce that pathway, the deeper that ingrainment into the brain is. So if you always take the same route to work, it's super ingrained in there, you're on automatic and you just know how to get there. You can close your eyes and basically know the way. So eating and eating habits are so deeply ingrained that before you even have a choice to say, I want this versus that, you're being fed.
Right.
So when you try to come at age, let's say 25 or 28, when you're like, okay, I need to make a difference in my life, you're trying to go against 20 plus years of a neural pathway conditioning and try something different. That is so difficult and challenging. I tell people, work out, enjoy it, have fun with it, and attack dieting in phases.
There's a book called Atomic Habits that I highly suggest reading. But one of the things he touches on is the fact that certain habits in general, they're associative. So like say someone who smokes cigarettes, right? Like cigarettes are addictive, right? There's a chemical addiction that comes with it. But then you also have to acknowledge that like there's stimulus that encourages the habit of smoking, right? So like if you're someone who wakes up, has a balcony, every day you have your cup of coffee with the cigarette out in the balcony. When you wake up, you're gonna be associating the balcony to cigarettes and coffee. So whenever you step outside that balcony, even if it's not morning anymore, you're gonna think cigarettes and coffee. That association starts to be reinforced through conditioning. And so like when it comes to like a habit like smoking, that's true, but it could also be true for the opposite. So like to your point, movement, right? When you move, suddenly you start to feel a little better. You start to have a clearer, mind. You feel a little bit more accomplished because you did certain things. You could start associating good diet as well to that same feeling, right? Every time you eat this thing and have a movement, suddenly you feel accomplished. And the more you do that, the more associative that process becomes, and the more you can actually start leaning on that. But it is a bit of a challenge starting. The starting is the hardest part, I think, with anything.
And becoming aware of those associations, right? So in ABA, so in therapy, and I think I'm just going to turn off my phone. It was, but in ABA, which is a type of therapy, applied behavior analysis, that's used in the community, to help with modifying behaviors. That right there, that association is looked at also as the antecedent to a behavior. Like what's going on right before that behavior begins, and how do we address that antecedent? Because that antecedent and that behavior are connected in a way that's reinforcing something either positively or negatively. It's either adding something to your environment or removing something. So to go a level deeper to that beautiful analogy you're using of the balcony and the coffee and the cigarette, right? So it also may be that balcony, coffee, and cigarette, when you step in there, it also is because you're very tired for your day, or you're anxious, or you have poor sleeping. So when you go out there and you drink that coffee, you smoke that cigarette, you're at the balcony, you're also removing away this feeling that's anxiety or tiredness or frustration, or adding something. Now you feel ready to start your day, you feel full of energy. So how do we find another habit or another thing that can help you get that feeling or remove that other thing? And we have to look at that again, but we don't get there if we don't build that relationship, if we don't zoom out and see what is
have an awareness
of just what's going on. Before this thing goes out, and as I do, if you don't mind, I want to ask you some like just rapid fire questions. I'm actually really excited to do these because
Okay.
I like to do these. These are very popular with everybody. I did them with Chris as well, Gene's kid. So let me find them. Okay, here we go. Rapid fire.
Okay.
All right. Coffee or espresso?
Espresso.
Okay. One movie everyone should watch.
Oh, wait, give me a second because this one's hard for me. I have so many. Good Will Hunting.
Love that one. Favorite city?
So far, I because it's recent, Florence.
Okay. Dream role?
An original
Okay.
character that I
Dream
like.
director?
Alejandro Inarritu.
Ooh, actor you'd love to work with?
I would say Christian Bale.
Okay. One book that changed your life?
Changed my life. I would say, I think there's a book called Ishmael that it didn't change my life per se, but it definitely reinforced a way of thinking.
Okay.
About
Ishmael.
Ishmael.
By?
The writer, I don't remember.
Okay, Ishmael though. All right.
But it's basically, yeah. Ishmael.
Jiu-jitsu questions.
Mm-hmm.
So what belt are you at right now?
White.
White, so me too. White belts. Talking jiu-jitsu, okay? Don't judge us. Most overrated submission.
Maybe a triangle.
Underrated submission.
Kimura.
If you were in a match, MMA match, would you prefer to get knocked out in the first 10 seconds or get put to sleep in the first 10 seconds?
Sleep.
If you're in a street fight, what's the best martial art to know?
I would say wrestling. Wrestling or jiu-jitsu? I would say wrestling.
If you could only have one submission for the rest of your life to use, which one would it be?
I think the rear naked choke.
The rear naked choke's a good one.
Yeah.
Now the other way around. Would you rather knock someone out in 10 seconds or put them to sleep in 10 seconds?
Put them to sleep with my fist.
I really appreciate you, bro. Thank you, man. This has been
appreciate you,
so
man.
much fun. Guys, check it out. September 25th.
On Stars.
On Stars. It's going to be fantastic. He already, when we lost a little bit of our video, he told us that the reviews on this are through the roof. So go check him out. Season 2s are, I don't know, can I share this? The season 2's in writing?
It's currently on the way.
Season 2 is on the way because that's how good the reviews for season 1 have been. So go check them out. September 25th on Stars. The show is called S.W.A.T.
Exiles.
Exiles. Let's go. Thank you, bro.